Contentment doesn't mean inaction. The system around us, and I've said this many times, the system around us actually encourage us to engage in this samsaric cycle, and as a result, they accumulate and accumulate to the point whereby it's actually coming back to hurt us.
You said just now that contentment doesn't mean inaction.
Yes.
And it's highlighted by the order of the first four realization of great beings. What comes after contentment is effort. Imagine the teacher saying that, okay, the content and work hard. Like, what? And I think the secret is we have to do both.
Self-compassion, self-kindness is just as important, especially if we are bodhisattvas walking on this path. If we are going out there to nourish others, we have to learn to nourish ourselves, and therefore the need for rest. To be bodhisattvas, we need to take care of this body. This body is a part of the conditions that enable us to practice, and it is teaching us the middle way. If we consider that practice only takes place on the cushion, that will limit our practice, because practice is in our interaction with everyone.
We're like halfway. We finished the first four of the 8 realizations of great being. You know what it's like? It's like drinking half my coffee. So now I'm half awake. It's like that. I'm half awake. So my friends, welcome to episode 31 of Vibe with Venerables. 1 hour of live Dharma and dialogue where you get to talk directly to a respected Venerable. I'm Ming, co-founder of Buddhism-dot.net and your host. So I'm wearing red today, see? To celebrate Lunar New Year. So in Singapore, where I came from, we celebrate it as Chinese New Year. And for Chinese New Year, we wear red for good luck. And I have Hello Kitty for extra good luck. So for those of you, my friends who celebrate Lunar New Year in your tradition and your culture, I want to wish all of you a very happy New Year. And speaking of Singapore, today we continue to have my fellow Singaporean, the very awesome Venerable Dr. Juewei, Director of Nantian Institute's Humanistic Buddhism Center and the head of program for the Institute's Applied Buddhist Studies and Humanistic Buddhism. So today we will explore the 4th of the 8 realizations of great beings. Venerable will talk about the follies of laziness and the need for diligence. In other words, how not to be like this guy. Be the opposite of this guy. That's how we spend the next hour. So as usual, Venerable will speak for roughly 30 minutes and then answer your questions live. And as a reminder, this session will be recorded and then uploaded on the YouTube later. And if you're comfortable doing so, we'd like to encourage you to turn your camera on so that Venerable can see your lovely faces on the screen in front of her. With that, dear Venerable, over to you.
Happy Lunar New Year to you, Ming, and to all my friends in the Vibe with Venerables community, and auspicious greetings. So let us once again begin by taking an image to heart. This is a familiar image for those of you who have been with us in the past few weeks. Let's observe what is going on in your mind as you look at this image, whether it's familiar or unfamiliar to you. Allow those thoughts to pass. And now, invite the image to make an impression in our consciousness. Paying attention to as many details as you can. When you're ready, please close your eyes, and I'll take you through a body scan. Starting from the top of our head, relax. Relax our forehead. Relax our eyes. Relax our facial muscles. Relax our jaws. Relax. Relax our neck, shoulders. Relax. Allow our upper arms to relax. Elbows, forearms, wrists, hands, and fingers. Relax. Let's relax our back from our upper back, mid back, to our lower back. Relax. Relax our torso and our hips. Relax. Relax our thigh muscles, knees, and calf muscles. Relax. Relax our feet and toes. Allow our entire body to ease into our seat, still maintaining a straight back and a soft front. Finding that middle way, that sweet spot of relaxed body, calm minds, and still maintaining a posture. Gently bring your attention to your breath. And for the next few moments, without any judgment or control, let's just focus on our breath. It is now time to invite the image of the stacked stones back. How many stones can you visualize? What are the colors or shades of color that you can see on each stone? What's the texture of the stone? What does the water in the background look like? Did you remember the sky or anything else? Any reflections in the background? There is no need to struggle. Simply allow the image to return to you in whatever way it likes. And when you're ready, please feel free to open your eyes and look at the image again. How different is your mental image from this one on the screen? Thank you. Thank you so much for checking in with me. Over the past 3 weeks, we have discussed what bodhisattvas need to awaken to as they embark on their journey of service. The Sutra on the 8 realizations of great beings teaches us how to wake up from an endless cycle of suffering. First, we wake up to the true nature of all things we know, and that intrinsic nature is impermanence. Whether this planet Earth, our country, our communities, our loved ones, and every part of ourselves, they are all subject to change. Hence, we do not need to be too attached to ourselves and even our ideas. So with that first awakening of impermanence, we move to the second awakening, that our desires are insatiable and only lead us to want more and more. And those very same desires will create habitual tendencies that shape who this inverted commas quoted I will become. But there is hope. By understanding the crux of Buddhist teaching, that is dependent origination, we realize that we can break that cycle that is caused by craving. And the key, according to the Sutra, is contentment. Contentment in the present, whatever conditions the present delivers us. And by seeking wisdom to reduce our ignorance that was a cause from the past. Now that we have had a quick revision, let's have an opportunity to reflect on contentment and attachment. First, please reflect on which areas you feel you need to cultivate more contentment. The options are multiple. They could be to do with relationships to people I live with, work with, or in the broader society. Maybe we could feel that we need to cultivate more contentment in our approach to wealth or to personal well-being, identity, or others. You may choose more than one option. If your area of concern is not listed, please feel free to mark other and enter that area in our chat stream. The second poll question is a single choice question. Please identify your biggest challenge in cutting cravings or attachments. Please look at the list and identify one and only one. Yes, I'm sorry that you can only choose one, since the question is about your biggest challenge. Again, if your challenge is not listed, please key it into the chat stream. As you look at your answers, between the area that you feel you need to cultivate more contentment and your biggest challenge, do you see a relationship between your choices? So for example, if your biggest challenge may be related to relationships, could that be an area that you need to cultivate more contentment? I see that food or health-related matters. The 8 worldly winds are, let's look at 8 worldly winds. The 8 worldly winds tells me that these are to do with our identity. So I can see 26%, over a quarter of us present, find that a big challenge. And we can see that 32% of us find identity also an area we would like to cultivate more contentment. In fact, over half of us find relationships an area that we'll need to cultivate more contentment. And closely following that is about our personal well-being. Well, these are very important because that gives us a goal to work towards. And similarly, we look at what's available, what we find to be our biggest challenge. In this community, at least, we find the 8 worldly winds to do with identity and food or health matters, health-related matters, being an area where we'll need to focus our attention. And later on, if we have an opportunity, we can come back to them in the later session when we have an open session. This somehow brings to mind what Venerable Master Sheng Yun, my teacher, taught last week, that when we lack contentment, the mind tends to follow external conditions. So let's hold the area that you have identified as your biggest challenge. Consider why you may lack contentment and how your mind wants to track the appropriate external conditions. And while we hold this thought, let's go back to our Sutra of the 8 realizations of great beings. So let's read the sutra together. Sutra of the 8 realizations of great beings. For all disciples of the Buddha, each morning and night, recite with a sincere mind these 8 realizations of a bodhisattva. First, realize that this world is impermanent and that nations are dangerous and fragile. The 4 great elements lead to suffering and are empty, and the 5 aggregates are without a self. All things arise, cease, change, and become different. They are illusory, not real, and cannot be controlled. The mind is the source of unwholesomeness, and the body is a gathering of wrongdoings. Contemplate this, and you will gradually turn away from the cycle of birth and death. Second, realize that more desire causes suffering. The weariness of the cycle of birth and death arises from greed and desire. Lessen desire and be without any wishes, and the body and mind will be at ease. Third, realize that the mind cannot be satisfied, but only seeks more, increasing its wrongdoing and unwholesomeness. Bodhisattvas are not like this. They are always satisfied with what they have, is peaceful in poverty, and upholds the way. Wisdom is their only concern. Fourth, realize that laziness leads to downfall. Be diligent and break through the evil of the affliction. Defeat the 4 kinds of Mara and escape the prison of the 5 aggregates and 3 realms. In summary, this last awakening says that ordinary people cannot break through the tight grip of samsara, the cycle of life and death, due to laziness. Whereas bodhisattvas are diligent and persevere in their pursuit of wisdom, and hence can break that samsaric cycle. I'm now going to do what I've been doing in the past 3 weeks. Think back to your biggest discontentment and what you find challenging to let go of. What does this 4th awakening mean to you? Please feel free to post your thoughts in the chat stream. If you agree with what others already say in the chat stream, please feel free to add a reaction. Yes, I'm glad that this particular awakening brings to us perhaps a reflection on how we can break through our pride, or our self-identity. Thank you. Yes, the mind does lead to a lot of discomfort when we are thinking of how we should be acting. And there is this disjunction between reality and what I would like to be. Thank you. Judging mind. Our mind loves discrimination. And yes, it's very natural for us to feel anger towards those who do harm, not only to themselves, but to a large community. Yes, laziness does cause one to be greedier. I'll share a little bit about that in a little while, and how that prevents us from being diligent.
Venerable, have we talked about what are the 4 kinds of Mara?
Not yet.
Coming to that.
That is very good idea, because this particular passage, as you can see, has some things around Mara and the 3 realms. So what are they? So let's take a look. While everyone else, please continue posting in the chat. So the 4 kinds of Mara that is stated in this passage refers to afflictions, the 5 aggregates, death, and even heaven. So, afflictions. Afflictions refer to the greed, hatred, ignorance, and other habitual energies that can harm body and mind that you have referred to in the chat stream. The 5 aggregates refer to form, feelings, perception, mental formations of volition, and consciousness. These are the 5 aggregates that make up our experiences of a self, or what we call ourselves. And the 3rd Mara is death. Death cuts us off from our human form. Heaven. This really refers to Mara, because Mara is actually a heavenly being. And Mara and a lot of these external paths that can destroy human good deeds. So sometimes Mara can appear not only in the heavens, but also in some conditions around us. So this is the 4 kinds of Mara that is being referred to. And I already see from the chat how you have referred to them. Now, what about the 3 realms of existence? It actually outlines existential domains, including the desire realm, the form realm, and the formless realm. These realms classify the experiences of sentient beings who are influenced by ignorance and perception. So they represent different states of being. So for example, the sensual realm, which is the realm of desire, the form realm, and the formlessness realm. They are all linked to the cyclical nature of existence and rebirth in samsara. The realms of form and formlessness can usually be attained through meditative concentration. Or of course, they can also be attained after a person has passed away, removed this bodily form, and have enough merits and concentration to reach these higher realms. So let's look at the desire realm. The sentient beings in this realm of desire have desire for sense objects, such as food, drinks, and sex. We all live in this realm. The beings in the realm of ethereal forms don't have any more desire for sense objects. However, they do have desire for and attachment to the objects that appear in their states of meditative absorption. So that's why, and they still have a form. So that's why it's called the realm of form, but no more desires. But they love being in meditation. Then, when we are reborn in the formless realm, we have an extremely subtle body. So no longer this heavy-duty body, but a subtle, very, very subtle body. And the basis of that consciousness is the life force, or what's called the life power, or the subtlest life-sustaining wind or energy. But even in this realm, beings still have attachment and the ignorance with which they mistakenly regard as liberation. So they may feel that they are liberated when they are not. So whether one reaches these more advanced stages of meditation without desires, whether we do so through meditation or through rebirths, these beings are still subject to the samsaric cycle. And that's the reason why the passage says that it's the prison of the 5 aggregates and these 3 realms of existence. So let's revisit the Buddha's teaching on this endless cycle of rebirth. So the Buddha realized that ignorance is the root cause of our endless transmigration across lifetimes. As a result of ignorance, we have karmic mental formations of body, speech, and mind. So these are past causes. So it could be a past life. And as a result of these formations, consciousness is formed in, say, a new life. And in this new life, consciousness results in name and form, or what's commonly called mind and body. These mind and body conditions the 6th sense basis, which in turn result in contact. Contact results in feelings and sensations. Due to feelings and sensations, which are the present effects, result in present causes of craving, clinging, and becoming. And as a result of these present causes, we get the future effect of rebirth. So birth, aging, and death. So this is the important dependent origination 12 links that the Buddha was awakened to. And last week, we realized that the best place to cut the cycle of dependency is at craving, which is the start of the present causes. So if we stop craving by being contented with what we have and what we are, then the cycle will naturally stop. And this is where we cannot be lazy, because laziness will then cause this cycle to continue. So let's try to understand laziness in the context of craving, clinging, and becoming. Laziness can be viewed as a form of craving for comfort and ease, leading individuals to avoid effort and engagement, especially what in Buddhism we call the right effort to break this cycle. This craving for comfort can prevent us from pursuing meaningful activities or spiritual practices that foster our growth and understanding of the Dharma. When individuals become attached to comfort and ease, they may neglect responsibilities and opportunities for personal development, thereby leading to stagnation. And worse, it may lead to decline. Laziness often results in clinging to idle behaviors such as excessive leisure or distractions, such as YouTube binge watching and doom scrolling. This clinging can further entrench us in a cycle of dissatisfaction as we miss out on opportunities for fulfillment and growth. So clinging to laziness can prevent individuals from engaging in practices that lead to awakening, such as meditation, self-reflection, and community involvement. After last week's sharing, someone approached me and said how she doom scrolled, not because of any of the reasons I listed, such as fear of missing out or wanting to catch up with the latest news. Instead, she acknowledged that it was pure laziness. And I congratulated her for her great self-awareness. Because laziness can hinder progress in our spiritual journey, leading to a lack of development in skills, wisdom, and understanding. This stagnation contributes to a sense of unfulfillment and suffering, which I'm sure many of us who get into this habit of doom scrolling will find. The more we indulge in laziness, the more difficult it will become to break free from negative habits, reinforcing this cycle of suffering. So to counteract laziness, we have to cultivate diligence as a counteracting force. This involves recognizing the importance of effort in achieving contentment and awakening. Congratulations, my friends! We have now come to the midpoint of what bodhisattvas need to awaken to as they embark on their journey of service. This sutra on the 8 realizations of great beings teaches us how to wake up from an endless cycle of suffering. First, we have to wake up to the true nature of all things we know as impermanent. Whether this planet Earth or whether it's ourselves, everything is subject to change. The second awakening is that our desires are insatiable and only leads us to want more and more, and thereby leading to suffering. The third awakening is to recognize the value of contentment, and that as a result, we should be seeking wisdom to reduce our ignorance. However, we know of the stickiness of our karmic tendencies that will constantly bring us back into our cycle of life and death. Hence, we need to practice diligence to overcome laziness so as to accumulate positive karmic tendencies and get rid of the unwholesome karmic tendencies. Of course, it takes wisdom to know what is good for breaking the sticky habit. So for that, we'll have to wait till next week to explore the next awakening of wisdom. Once again, I welcome your insights and questions for discussion. So over to you, Meng.
Thank you, Venerable. Good. So we're like halfway. We finished the first 4 of the 8 realizations of great being. You know what it's like? It's like drinking half my coffee. So now I'm half awake. And you know what happens when I drink half my coffee? It's like that. I'm half awake. I'm kidding. So my friends, before our discussion, I want to encourage us to just take time to absorb the teachings and digest what we just learned from the Venerable. And so let's take a moment to breathe and reflect what we've just learned and how that relates to our lives. Thank you, friends. So as usual, if you have any questions for the Venerable or any reflection you want to share, just use the hand-raising function on Zoom and we'll invite you to unmute yourself. I have a question for you. Actually, not my question. This comes from the chat stream, and I think it's a really good point. This question actually relates more, Venerable, to your previous session, which is about contentment. And this person, when you ask about biggest challenge, this person says, my biggest challenge is the pain I feel regarding what's going on in my country and on the planet as a whole. And I identify because I feel the same pain, and actually it's worse. I mean, for people, for old folks like us, we feel pain, but for younger folks, right, people in the 20s, a lot of them, they find it debilitating, right? It's that bad. So this is a real problem. And so I want to highlight this, and I want to ask, is it such a bad thing to not be content about injustice in the world? Right? I mean, using, like, for example, Gandhi and MLK Jr. as examples, they were not content with the world. And that's why they took the effort to fight for justice. So, yeah, I'm going to ask you this question, Venerable. Should we be content with injustice? And if not, what can we do about this?
Contentment
Mm,
doesn't mean inaction. So I think we have to differentiate between the contentment that we understand. These are the causes and conditions that have led to.
mm,
And these causes and conditions these days are a web. I think I also see in the chat the wisdom
mm,
of systemic thinking,
mm,
that the system around us, and I've said this many times, the system around us actually encourage us to engage in this samsaric cycle. And as a result, they accumulate and accumulate to the point whereby it's actually coming back to hurt us.
yes, somebody said that our this content is monetized.
Yes, that's right. It's monetized. Now that the first thing is that awareness.
Mhm,
So it's very important that we do not get swept away and
mm,
then build anger, because
mm,
that will not solve the
mm,
problem.
mm,
Last evening, I had a nice chat with a young person who is now based in Vienna doing his postdoc.
mm,
And he gave me so much hope in saying that while he's very much into cybersecurity, into technology, but very much at a policy level as well. So he's saying that we have to envision a future. Everything is doomed these days. So if you project from where we are going, you're going to see, okay, super intelligences taking over the world, the
mhm,
end of humanity as a species, we are the last generation. Is that where we want to live? Of course not. However, we know that comes from causes and conditions. And then what we need to do now, and I'm very much inspired by his idea of we need to imagine a better future. And he is now trying to combine imagination through science fiction, using the power of science fiction to
mm,
envision a better future for humanity using the technology and the innovations that we have.
mm. Isn't that
But
Star Trek?
yes, you bring Star Trek back, um, go to know, go to imagine a world that we have never been to before,
Mhm,
but at the same time, that's a very positive future. So
mm,
now coming back, craving, I think you mentioned it, Ming,
mhm,
that there are two types of craving.
that's right. Two types of desire, actually.
Two types of desire.
Yeah.
And the two types, one more wholesome and the other less wholesome.
Mm,
And we have a choice.
mm,
We have a choice of how we want to break the cycle.
mm,
And what we have to do is to be very aware of what will bring me through samsara
mm,
and what will cut this.
mm,
And what will cut this takes effort,
mm,
because we have to fight that
mm,
systemic forces around us.
mm,
And those
mm,
systemic forces
mm,
may be rewarding us for
mm,
being in the cycle.
mm. Yes, through
That's very
monetization
wisdom.
of
The
our suffering.
monetization. Why? Because we are craving for that identity that's
Mm,
associated with money,
right.
or because we are craving for
Mhm,
something that can be achieved with money.
mm,
Not that money is not good,
mhm.
but that sweet spot of the middle way, I think is
Yes,
what's important.
yes. Awesome. So, Venerable, you said something very important. So, I'm going to repeat it to highlight it again. What you said just now that contentment doesn't mean inaction.
Yes,
Yes, it's really important, and it's highlighted by the order of the first four realization of great beings, because what comes after contentment is effort, right? I mean, imagine the teacher saying that, okay, the content and work hard, right? Like what, right? And I think the secret is of what you just said, is that we have to do both. And the way to do both is understand that when you talk about contentment here, it is as an antidote to greed and hatred and delusion to some degree, not to say don't do anything. Everything is fine. Be content, right? So that's why you have both. You content about uh, sources of things that causes great hatred. You have contentment that solves great hatred and delusion, and at the same time, you have effort to increase non-greed, non-hatred, and non-delusion in the world, inside and outside. So including my practice and uh, working towards a more just world. That's why I'm hearing you.
That's right. Right effort,
Mm,
essentially. The
mm,
right effort is what's important. And the next
mhm,
four awakenings take us in that direction when we talk about wisdom, when we talk about generosity, when we talk about compassion,
mhm.
and that bodhicitta.
Wow,
So
awesome.
we
That is
have to, there's action involved.
right. So we must attend all the next four. Half awakening, not good enough. Awesome. Uh, Venerable, I have another question from the chat stream.
Okay.
This one, this is from somebody. Let me see if I can find. I want to make sure I get it. Uh, I make it give the justice. Okay, I'm going to read the quote. Uh, so this person's is lazy only in specific domains, and she says, "I'm diligent in many things, but I'm diligent in many things, but I do not put enough time in my practice. So when I open my morning with, when I open my morning with meditation, my day is much less suffering. But this person, I know about her work. I mean, she does Dharma work and important Dharma work, right? So the more she does, the more it benefits us. And I also know that it's taking time away from her personal practice. So this is her suffering. Her suffering is about work. And then when you ask the polling question today, both her answers were work and work. So, Venerable, how do we solve this for this problem?
You know that I remembered John Kabat-Zinn saying
Mm-hmm,
that in his earlier days, when people ask him about his practice, he would say
mm-hmm,
how many hours he would spend sitting in
mm-hmm,
meditation.
right.
But when he's being asked about his practice today, he says, no, it's not in the sitting meditation, it's in
Mm.
his life. So if we consider that practice only takes place on the
Mm,
cushion,
mm,
then that's that will limit our practice because
mm,
practice is in our interaction with everyone.
mm,
So this particular Zoom session, for example,
mhm, mhm,
offers me an opportunity of doing homework, doing
mm,
research,
mm,
doing my own reflection. So that's the practice, but it's also work.
mm,
But but because it's work that helps, that's positive. It brings, I hope, a positive outcome because I
mm,
can then come to the Vibe with Venerables
mhm,
session and
mhm,
meet this
mm,
community.
mm, mm,
Then there is really no difference
mm,
between whether I have practice time, personal practice time, or
mm,
not.
mm,
Make it a part of our work.
mm, right. So this person just clarified through the chat stream. She says, even when I open my eyes on time, I stay in bed instead of immediately getting out of bed to meditate. And I start falling asleep again. By the way, I had the same problem yesterday, this morning. I was going to wake up early to meditate, and I meditated, I fell asleep. So, how can I solve this problem? She asked.
I don't know, besides putting a crab in on your bed and sting you up, just I think that maybe count. This today,
Mm-hmm,
it takes me 5 minutes
mm,
between alarm waking
mm,
and me getting out of bed.
mm,
Hopefully tomorrow it'll be 4 minutes
mm,
and then
mm,
3 minutes.
mm,
And eventually we'll
mm,
tell ourselves when we open our eyes, we
mm,
get up, we
mm,
sit, and we
mm,
meditate.
mm. So what I'm hearing from you, Venerable, is two things: discipline and quantify. Okay,
Maybe.
maybe.
If quantification works for you.
Mm, mm. Oh, thank you. Okay, we have a live question from George.
Good morning, Sifu.
Good
Um,
morning, George.
I sometimes lapse into laziness because of the teaching that I got before that we don't really have any power to do anything ourselves, no, towards enlightenment, and that we have to rely only on grace or the bodhisattva. So sometimes I would say, oh, never mind the cultivation because Amitabha will bring me to the Pure Land anyway. I'll just do the Nyampo, something like that. But I think it leads me to a kind of laziness.
Yeah, you're very astute. It is true that, but you know that even this chanting the name of the Buddha is not easy. It's just like meditation asking you to focus on your breath. It sounds easy, but wait till you try it and to keep it focused. That takes effort. So if we just persist in that training, it's going to help train our mind. And these are all such important mind training. So I hope every one of us find our little homework that we can do to train our mind and tune it away from those distractions. Good luck.
I think we have another question from the chat stream.
Yes.
When I have many tasks and deadlines approaching, I become anxious and I tend to look for shortcuts. In this situation, how can I practice diligence while managing many responsibilities?
I wish I were a leadership coach or a management consultant. They would give us many, many ideas around this. And what I've learned is that once you finish one task, another comes.
True.
There's no stopping that flow anyway.
And some of your tasks come from me, so I apologize for that. In public, I apologize.
I just make sure I do the best in the moment. The moment, the present is what I have. If I can do the best at the moment, trust. I think have faith. Have faith. As long as we are diligent, as long as we're doing things with Dharma and we select things that will bring us Dharma joy. I think that's
Dharma
important.
joy.
And Dharma joy is what takes us out of that cycle.
Oh, I like that. Can you say a bit more about Dharma joy?
So you know that, for example, this vibe with Venerables, it takes me like a long time. Angela would know that it takes me a long time to think through, to prepare, even though it may look like just a few slides. There's so much research that goes behind or thinking that goes behind. What you're seeing is the tip of an iceberg.
Yep.
But you know, every time after the session, I loved it. And it gives me, well, first of all, that community connection that's so precious and I'm connecting with people from all around the world, right? Both northern and southern hemisphere, east and west. And at the same time, it also gives me an opportunity for this work to also flow on to other things that are happening. For example, I've been invited to go on a panel on tricycle.
Right.
And wanting to talk about relationship with AI. So in order to do that, I'm planning to use the dependent origination cycle.
Nice.
But I can talk about that because I've had the opportunity to reflect very deeply on this. So, you know, that is Dharma joy to me. And that makes every effort very worthwhile.
Right. And then later on, you'll graduate from tricycle to bicycle. Yeah.
Okay. And then to unicycle.
That's right. Yes. Something that's really important what you just said, because in the 7 factors of enlightenment, the Buddha made sure to add joy to that. I mean, there's only 7 items. Each one is really important. And joy is one of the, I think it's the middle one. Right? And joy comes after investigation. So it's like mindfulness, investigation, and joy. And this is piti. I mean, the Pali is piti, so it's energetic joy. Not like, it's nice, but like, and it's joy arising from, like, I think the way you put it is Dharma joy. It's coming from Dharma work, coming from doing good work that benefits self and others.
That's right. And I can see from my own personal growth, as well as the chat, even from your contributions, that's a gift back to me to say that I'm thinking about these questions or how I've grown in my insights. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah. And again, I want to highlight something Venerable said earlier, which is really important, which is the joy, the Dharma joy, Dharmic joy. That is the way to break the cycle of laziness. And for me, I find the same thing. That's my experience as well. Right? If I have to sit every day, oh, so boring. But when I can find the joy, then suddenly the practice becomes self-sustaining. So my suggestion to everybody is when in right effort in doing Dharma work or your own practice or anything else, including fighting for social justice, find the joy. And once you find the joy, it becomes self-sustaining. We have a question from Michael. This is probably the last question.
Hello, Venerable.
Hello, Michael.
I wanted to ask if there is a concept of rest in Buddhism. I'm stuck on the idea of resting between physical exertion. Could you speak about that?
Of course, self-compassion, self-kindness is just as important, especially if we are bodhisattvas walking on this path. If we are going out there to nourish others, we have to learn to nourish ourselves, and therefore the need for rest. The need to step back and reflect, to contemplate, to build that space. I often call it standing in the eye of the tornado. Everything may be going around us in crazy, with crazy forces. But we need to step back and give ourselves that respite, and then recharge, restore, and begin again. If you are going to see me, if I don't rest at all, you're going to see a very tired me. You're going to see me with big bulgy eyes. Will you feel confident? Will you feel like what I say is going to be of value to you? No. To be bodhisattvas, we need to take care of this body. This body is a part of our the body and form, right? So body and mind, this body is a part of the conditions that enable us to practice. And it is teaching us the middle way.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Great question.
I think we're time for one more quick question. This is from chat. Oh, by the way, the questions you asked, if we don't get time to answer them, please feel free to email us, and then we will accumulate all the questions, and then maybe Venerable can answer them during the next week or something. So this last quick question, Venerable, what is the difference between joy and contentment?
That's not a quick question.
Okay. It's a quick question, but not with a quick answer.
The shorter the question, the harder they are.
Really? No, kidding.
I like to think that contentment can bring about joy. So contentment is understanding causes and condition. We can only be content when we can abide. So what we say, abide in. And one of the things that we can abide in joy. But we can also abide in compassion. We can also abide in gratitude. We can abide in anger. We can abide in so many other things. So we have the Brahma Viharas. The Brahma Viharas are the 4 abodes of the heavenly beings. So if we want to get to heaven, we need to ensure one of the things that we have is joy. And the others are compassion, kindness, and equanimity together with joy. But there are different kinds of joy. So the type of joy that I've been talking about today is the joy that comes from Dharma practice. But there are also other forms of joy. And be careful that joy is not just just according to our senses. We get satisfied with our senses and therefore we get happy. That's not the kind of joy that we are referring to.
Thank you. And also we can abide in Hello Kitty and the other 3.
Yeah, that's a different kind of joy.
With that, my dear Venerable, can we have you close this session?
Yes, I would love to. Something that Nantian Institute is offering is what we call anti-conversations, a series of informative free talks designed to spark curiosity and foster knowledge sharing within our communities. In November last year, Meng was our featured guest, and you may visit our YouTube channel to listen to his story. But coming up next Friday at 12:30 in Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time, you're welcome to meet the director of the film Meeting the Buddha and hear how she weaves Buddhist wisdom into filmmaking. Martha will share insights into her creative process and the spiritual and artistic intersections of Buddhism and filmmaking. It will shed light on her personal practice, which informs storytelling and the challenges of capturing lived Dharma on film. So do register to get the Zoom link. If you would like to join communities similar to Vibe with Venerables, you're welcome to consider Sunday check-in sessions held every Sunday morning in Australia and Asia or Saturday evenings in the Americas. Come for 30 minutes of Dharma, reflection, and community connection. And finally, NTI has competitive international scholarships available for postgraduate studies in Applied Buddhist Studies and Humanistic Buddhism. Please note that the closing date for the next round is approaching. So finally, Meng, shall we check out together?
Yes, please.
With a prayer for the people who listen to the Dharma by Venerable Master Sheng Yuan. O great compassionate Buddha, please guide us in understanding cause and effect and karmic retribution clearly. Please guide us in exalting loving kindness, compassion, and equanimity. Please guide us in respectfully upholding the 5 precepts and the 10 wholesome conducts. Please guide us in carrying out the 6 paramitas. We hope to transfer the merits of listening to the Buddha's teachings to all beings in the Dharma realms. May we all seek and realize supreme enlightenment. O great compassionate Buddha, please accept our sincerest prayer. O great compassionate Buddha, please accept our sincerest prayer.
Sansai, Sansai, Sansai. Thank you. Thank you, dear Venerable. My friends, please bow to our teacher. Thank you, Venerable, for being with us. Friends, this recording will be uploaded onto the Buddhism-dot.net YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, tell all your friends. And if you're inspired to practice dana or generosity towards Venerable Juewei, remember she put a lot of effort into this. Please donate directly to the Nantian Institute. We'll be sharing by link and by email. So another reminder, our next After Vibe practice circle is happening in about a week, which is 1st of March for those in Asia and 28th February for those of you in the Americas. So After Vibe is a place where people gather for peer sharing and reflection and exploration of Dharma. And it'll be facilitated by our very own Joseph and Angela. So registration is required, and the link will again be sent to you by chat and by email. And now that we're more than halfway, next week, Venerable Juewei will be back to talk about the 5th realization of great beings. Don't miss it. Thank you.